In my experience, running initial research is the greatest difference between running a successful or a less successful A/B testing program in an online business. So here, I will talk about how to come up with a well-funded, more promising A/B testing idea that reacts to your audience's needs. As I mentioned, running research before your experiments is 90% of the work, but it's also 90% of the success. If you do your homework well, you can double or triple your chances to pull off a winning A/B test. But if you overlook it, you will just be testing random ideas and you will lose time and money. Remember that I said that A/B testing is not conversion rate optimization, it's research. Well, the truth is that it's only a research method, which is part of a bigger research framework. To run proper, well-funded A/B tests, you should take advantage of other research methods too. Let me show you the research framework I use. And let me preface with two comments. First, this is not the only research framework out there. Just like with every other framework, there are different models of the online research process too. The other comment is that although I've never seen this model written down in this format, I have to admit that I wasn't the one who came up with it. In the last few years, I've had many conversations with senior data scientists at many online businesses. I put this model together based on the insights I've collected from them. But I also see that most online businesses follow different variations of this model. I've been using it for years. I also tweaked it and optimized it a bit, and I'm pretty sure that your online business can take advantage of it too. The research framework has 6 steps: qualitative research, quantitative research, or in other words, data analysis, brainstorming, 5-second testing, A/B testing, and releasing the winning version. Let me go through these steps one by one. The first step is qualitative research, where you collect your first inputs. It's a really important step. When you start with a research project, there are many unknown unknowns. And because of that, starting with data analysis and opening up Google Analytics as a first step is not necessarily the best move. When looking at those endless reports and analyses, it's really easy to get lost and miss the point. It's much better to collect ideas and hunches first. And the easiest way to do this is by talking to your users. I mean, literally talking and listening to them. The most well-known qualitative research methods are user interviews, usability tests, and surveys. If you have a website, an online product, or just in general anything that a user or visitor can interact with, I recommend starting with usability tests. In this video, I won't talk about how exactly you should run your first usability test, because it's a bit out of the scope of the course, but if you want to learn more about it, I've written an article about it and I linked it below the video. Anyway, the word qualitative refers to the fact that here you will work with a smaller sample size, but you will aim for a deep understanding. In usability tests, these real interactions and conversations with real users and customers usually reveal many hidden user stories that you would never think of otherwise. You can understand the whys and the hidden motivations of your audience, and that's priceless. When I start a research project, I usually run around 5 usability tests first, and the output of these sessions is a list of hunches and suspicions, usually with 10 to 30 elements on it, prioritized by importance. I keep mentioning that these are only hunches and suspicions. Why? Because the sample size of 5 testers is far from statistically significant, but also a usability test might be biased because of the face-to-face interaction. Even if you are really careful, a user who knows that she's part of the research will act differently than someone who doesn't. And that's why we need our second step of the research framework, data analysis. At this step, you try to validate your hunches with actual user data. You can use the full data analytics arsenal, funnel analysis, segmenting, heat mapping, correlation analysis, and so on. There are many tools to do that, like Google Analytics, Mixpanel, Hotjar, your own SQL database, or Jupyter Notebook. Again, these are not the topic of this course, but I've written a lot about these on the Data36 blog, and you can find the links below this video. The point is that when doing data analysis, you have two big advantages compared to the qualitative research runs. First, you will have many more data points, and second, you will analyze real, unbiased user behavior. Okay, let me give you a concrete example for these first two steps to really bring this concept home. Let's say that we want to optimize the conversion rate of our e-commerce store. We sell socks, and our competitive advantage is that they are super comfortable compared to other brands. This is our homepage, and we have a very general headline, something like, "We make you feel cozy." Okay, we will start with usability testing. We invite potential users from our target audience, and for now, we choose people who don't know our brand. On the usability tests, we give them a scenario and ask them to simulate that they want to buy a birthday present for their friends. They go through our whole website, and we discover many things during the interviews. But one thing stands out. When we show them our homepage in the beginning and ask them what do they think we sell, 4 out of 5 say, "I have no idea." Well, that could be an issue. That's a strong suspicion. Again, we might get many more other hunches from this qualitative research run, but this one will make the top of our priority list for sure. So our next step is to go and try to validate this suspicion with data analysis. Is this an issue for our whole audience? Well, we check the numbers in Google Analytics, and we find that we have a relatively large stream of incoming traffic to our homepage. The bounce rate of our homepage is very high compared to other pages on our website. The bounce rate is high compared to market benchmarks as well. The click-through rate from our homepage is extremely low compared to other parts of our funnel, and based on heat maps, just in general, people don't interact too much with our homepage. These are all good signs that our suspicion from the usability test run is true for our whole audience. They don't get our value proposition on our homepage, and they don't know what we sell. Well, of course, this is just an artificial example. In real life, by seeing the whole context, you can get an even deeper understanding of the issue. A few things that in real projects you might want to think about: how well known is your brand? Where do visitors to your landing page come from? What's the company's long-term goal? Things like this. But let's say that in this example, this unclear headline is a real issue. Okay, we had a suspicion from usability tests, we validated it with data, now let's try to fix it. The third step is to arrange a brainstorming session with everyone in the team involved. Designers, marketers, UX people, data analysts, product managers, and so on. A great brainstorming session will result in 5 or 6 alternative solutions. A few of these ideas could be changing the headline to "We sell socks," or changing the headline "Our socks will make you feel cozy," or maybe someone will say to skip the whole headline thing and show the product list directly on the front page, or maybe display only a huge image with one big button saying, "I want comfortable socks." There might be many ideas. Some of these will be nonsensical or against your long-term brand strategy, but no worries, you can simply filter out bad ideas using common sense, but even if you do so, most probably you will end up with 5 to 6 promising alternative variations. And for most online businesses, that's too many. It takes too much time to implement those, create the design and the code for them. Also, it's possible that you won't have a big enough audience to run 5 or 6 alternative versions in your experiment. Well, actually, you can use one of the sample size calculators that I showed you in the statistics module to figure this out. But anyway, in my experience, when you have 5 or 6 alternative versions, 2 or 3 out of these are just really bad. You won't know it because they will be bad only through your user's eyes, but before you go and set up your actual A/B test, you can filter out these really bad alternative variations. How? With the fourth step, which is qualitative research again. You can run another round of usability tests, of course, but there is a better and even faster qualitative testing method to quickly prove or disprove your new ideas. It's called 5-second testing. What is 5-second testing? Let me demonstrate it quickly. I will show you a web design, you will see it for 5 seconds, and then I will ask a question about it. Ready? Okay, here it is. And my question is, what do you think this company sells? Get it? This was a 5-second test. I showed you a landing page for 5 seconds only, and I asked one simple but important question about it. 5-second testing works well for creatives of Facebook ads, for different parts of your website, and for everything where first impression is important. By the way, this landing page design was an older version of the company I worked for, iZettle, and iZettle sells different payment solutions, but their number one product is a card reader. Could you tell based on this in 5 seconds? That's what a 5-second test is good for. If your design or copy doesn't pass the 5-second test, that's usually not a good sign. By the way, if you want to learn more about 5-second testing, read the article that I linked below this video. Okay, but let's say that 2 of our ideas passed the 5-second testing round, the headline that says "Our socks will make you feel cozy," and the version where we show the product list immediately. The branding department of the company also gave the green light to show these versions to our users. So finally, step 5, it's time to A/B test them. In a later module, I will talk about whether you should run multiple versions in an A/B test parallel with each other, but for now, let's focus on the research framework. As you can see, we worked a lot on our well-funded A/B testing ideas. We discovered an issue, we validated that it's a real problem, and we filtered out the really bad new versions. Of course, we still cannot guarantee that our new versions will beat the old version. One reason is, obviously, the correlation versus causation issue that we discussed in the introduction module. But another one is that however deep your initial research is, it can happen that you missed something. That's totally normal, and that's exactly why A/B testing is so great. If you run an A/B test, it will tell whether your thinking process was right or wrong. Okay, and step 6, if you have a clear winner, great, you might release it to your whole audience. If your new versions are neutral or worse than your original one was, try to learn from it and understand what could be the underlying reason behind that. Do some more usability tests and data analysis, and sooner or later you will pull off a winning A/B test. So this is it. This is our research framework. 6 steps: qualitative research, data analysis, brainstorming, 5-second testing, A/B testing, and releasing the winning version. One quick comment, this is only a guide and not a rule book. So you don't have to stick strictly to the order of these steps. For instance, in some cases, you might want to quickly take a look at your Google Analytics data first to see which parts of your website are important to focus on more in a usability test, or maybe after the brainstorming, you will go back to data analysis to gather more data for a specific idea, and that's fine. Use this as a guide and feel free to tweak it to your own business and research needs. Okay. This research framework will give you support in finding great A/B testing ideas and low-hanging fruits in your business. And I also hope that now you see why it is a terrible idea to collect A/B testing ideas from conferences or from case studies, and also why have I said that the red button versus green button test is the favorite experiment of beginners only. The context of your A/B test is one of the most important things. You want to react to your own audience's needs. And that's what using this research framework will help you with.